Naughty Dog moving on from Uncharted, open to The Last of Us Part 3 if it has a compelling story. Naughty Dog released several downloadable content editions. The Last of Us Left Behind adds a single-player campaign following Ellie and her best friend, Riley. A remastered version, The Last of Us Remastered, was released for the PlayStation 4 in July 2014, and a remake, The Last of Us Part 1, was released in September 2022 for PlayStation 5 and is scheduled for release on Windows in March 2023. The game's success spawned a media franchise, including a comic book in 2013, a live show in 2014, a sequel in 2020, a television adaptation by HBO in 2023, a tabletop game by Themeborn in 2023, an untitled multiplayer game, and an upcoming tabletop game by CMON. Druckmann stated Naughty Dog is in a very privileged position with Sony, with the publisher supporting the studio every step of the way to follow its passions, meaning it wasn't feeling any pressure to make a sequel. Druckmann explained, "For us, Uncharted was insanely successful. Uncharted 4 was one of our best-selling games, and we're able to put our final brushstroke on that story and say that we're done. We're moving on." It is a little unclear here if Druckmann means there will be no more Uncharted games at all, or if he is referring to Nathan Drake's story, which concluded in A Thief's End. After all, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was a standalone expansion after A Thief's End, and followed the story of Chloe Frazer and Nadine Ross as they searched for the Tusk of Ganesh. Drake was only mentioned in a passing comment. Additionally, it could be Druckmann meant that Naughty Dog as a studio is done with the Uncharted series, meaning others could pick it up down the line. If this does happen to be the case, it wouldn't be the first time a studio other than Naughty Dog developed an Uncharted game, with Ben Studio developing spin-offs Fight for Fortune, a digital card game, and Golden Abyss for the PlayStation Vita. Back to the BuzzFeed interview and The Last of Us, Druckmann reiterated that Naughty Dog is open to developing Part 3, but only if the team can come up with a compelling story that has this universal message and statement about love, something it did with Parts 1 and 2. With The Last of Us, it's up to us whether we want to continue it or not. If we can't come up with something, we have a very strong ending with Part 2 and that will be the end, Druckmann finished. While Part 3 may be up in the air for now, Naughty Dog is currently working on the upcoming The Last of Us multiplayer release. So far, we have only seen concept art for this game. However, the developer has assured us we will hear more about its ambitious release later this year. The Last of Us spawned a media franchise. A 4-issue comic book miniseries, The Last of Us, American Dreams, was published by Dark Horse Comics from April to July 2013, written by Druckmann and illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. The game's cast performed a live reading of selected scenes in Santa Monica, California in July 2014, with live music by Santolala. A sequel, The Last of Us Part 2, was released for PlayStation 4 in June 2020. 2 tabletop games are in development, The Last of Us, Escape the Dark by Themeborn, due in December 2023, and The Last of Us, the board game by CMON, focusing on exploration, narrative, and survival elements. 2 film adaptations of The Last of Us were attempted. A feature film written by Druckmann and produced by Sam Raimi entered development hell, and an animated short film adaptation by Oddfellows was cancelled by Sony. Druckmann and Craig Mazin created a television adaptation of the game starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, which debuted on HBO and HBO Max in January 2023.